all in here again for Lethal Arms Network. First, I'd like to say thank you for tuning in and for your subscription. If you haven't done so and you're interested in this type of content, please go ahead and hit subscribe for more content like this. So I spoke to a few people online and everything, and just wanted a couple things I wanted to kind of touch on, current event type topics. So first and foremost, I was able to travel this week, and I was blessed enough to be invited to Bob Brown's practice in Utah. So I just got back from that, icing my arm, nursing my wounds right now from a long, grueling practice. So I kind of wanted to talk about that, and my good buddy Craig Tullier was there, so I got to talk a little bit about a huge event that took place in Alabama States. I talked to a couple people about it, and I wanted to kind of touch on what I've gathered so far about what happened at that tournament, especially being that there's not a whole lot of tournaments going on right now. So first off, I'm in Utah right now. Had the ability to travel out here, and Bob Brown, got to meet him a few years back, and he invited me over to his practice, and I think we probably had about 30-40 people there at the peak of it. Bob has an unbelievable facility. He is so well versed as far as arm wrestling history, and he is trained with the absolute best, meaning Jon Breda for many years, Todd Hutchings when he was out there, Kevin Bongard. I mean, the stories that he has are unbelievable. So I learned quite a bit, and not only did I learn a lot about arm wrestling history, but also some different training nuances, and I got to experience yet another major hub for arm wrestling. As in my journey, I've been blessed enough to travel around to a bunch of large groups. And this is my first time really training out west. So it was very interesting. Just to give you a rundown of some of the names that showed up, and I already mentioned Craig Tullier is actually living in a property that Bob owns. Bob has like this ranch. It's an amazing setup. He's basically got a garage that's been dedicated fully to arm wrestling. So Craig is actually staying in the property right there by Bob. So I think Craig's been out there for almost a year now, and he's kind of spent his rehab time from his injuries out here in Utah on a contract for work. I mean, honestly, if you're going to leave a great team in Louisiana, this team in Utah is one of the few that you would probably be able to go to and still continue on a really good path. So today at practice, we had Craig Tullier. We had none other than Jordan Sill, who, regardless of what Tom Nelson says, is not weak at all. And we had world champion Kody Merritt, who's coming off of his arm break that he broke against Roby Topi in like the second or third round of a super match that he went on to continue to pull and actually win. So Roby's surgery went well. Just an update on him. He was actually cleared to lightly train a little bit left. So I think he's got 5 or 6 weeks, and Kody is going to be back to 100% cleared to fully train. A ton of work, great group. I mean, and that's probably the hardest I've pushed myself in several months. So it was great to be able to work with Jordan. Unbelievable. The guy is in incredible form. And Craig, I mean, at 185 is unbelievable. And just to talk a little bit about Craig, people think Craig's is 100% speed based because he has such a great initiation, and he has, all of his moves are so quick and herky jerky. But the reality of Craig Tullier is Craig is just flat out strong. And a lot of people talk, he gets flack here and there, Louisiana hop and everything. Craig is flat out strong, even on the defensive side. This guy's not a one-trick pony. He is unbelievable. Being able to work with him and Jordan back to back, and watching him work with Jordan, who is somebody who weighs a lot more and has a bigger more dominant hand, and watching the things that Craig can do is absolutely unbelievable. So I definitely soaked as much of this up as I can, and my elbow and shoulder soaked up a lot too, but amazing experience. And so we got to go out to dinner prior to that with Bob and Craig, and talked quite a bit to Craig. And I had already been talking to a bunch of people and looked at a bunch of videos of some things that happened in Alabama States, which, you know, during COVID, it's so easy to really like dig into these what people would call local events. But Alabama States, I believe, had 400 entries, and that's very, very far from local. I mean, that's national level event type stuff. There's only a few throughout the country that have those type of numbers entry wise. The big highlights that I kind of wanted to touch on and make sure everybody's aware of. First off, I'm invariably going to make mistakes about some of this event because I did not get to watch the live feed from start to finish. So there are going to be some questions that I possibly have that some of you might be able to answer in the comments, or corrections that you're going to be able to make to my assessment because I might have missed something. First things first, what I did get to watch was the second half of the Jon Breda and Ron Bath left arm match. I think I caught it the start of match 3. No, wait. Yeah, after match 3. I picked the matchup when Breda was up 2-1. And I got to rewatch that match a little bit, and I mean, Jon Breda's hand is super impressive. Ron wound up winning the match 3-2. And Ron had to make some adjustments, sink into a deep hook. And honestly, you know, not knowing enough about Jon Breda, I expected Jonathan to be the stronger inside puller. I have gotten to work with Ron, and I'm not taking anything away from his inside or whatever, but what I felt with Ron was I felt like a superior hand, and I felt a hand that was able to keep me out of my lane. To see Jon Breda be able to go outside on Ron was incredibly impressive. But on the flip side, like, to see Ron, you know, at his age, obviously he's in stellar shape. Like, I mean, the guy is like, you know, he's like chiseled out of granite, even at his age, in the mid 50s, late 50s. And to see him have that type of endurance, ability to adjust, ability to go inside, and this is a match that had a bunch of restarts too. There were some intentional elbow fouls to get restarts, and that's another story. But it was a long, grueling match, and I mean, to me, I don't see how there could have been a match that day that was better. So hats off to both of those guys. I thought that was a huge highlight. And I know Jon Breda has kind of been on a mission to prove his legitimacy. And I think sometimes, even though he's obviously got some huge wins and he's moved up that 242 ranking, like cut through it like a hot knife through butter, but to me, this loss is more credible or more clout gaining, I mean, than I think some of his most recent wins. So if you don't know Jon Breda, look the guy up. He trains with Herman Stevens, which is an unbelievable training partner, and he has made leaps and bounds for sure. So there's some notable things that happened at this event that a lot of people were talking about. So first off, let's talk about the actual tournament. And there were some things that and I don't know a whole lot of details. So we know BJ Fukakis won the right arm super heavyweights. I think Paul Passmore took second. Paul Passmore won left. Now, as we go down in the weight classes is where I get a little vague. But and this is where I need clarity. I don't know what class Jerome Loud pulled. I am assuming, and I don't know the weight classes that they ran actually, but I'm assuming there was like a 220, or a 220 or a 225, which Daniel Mosier pulled and won. And I'm assuming there was either a 35, 42, something in between the supers where Jerome Loud pulled. So Jerome Loud is another one of the folks who have been majorly underlooked in this country. And And it really is a travesty because the guy is definitely elite, and he is elite in hand size, containment, finger strength, and he's got back pressure, he's got side pressure, he's really the whole package. And because he doesn't present himself really boldly, and he doesn't have Facebook presence and things of that nature, he largely gets overlooked. And that's, I think, why we're seeing so much on Facebook about Jerome Loud, and people acting like, oh, where did this guy come from? Well, those of us who are really following this stuff, and even though I'm in the Northeast, I know of Jerome Loud very well, okay? And I've been tracking him for quite some time. And when WAL was hot and heavy back in the tournament days, this guy was taking names, and he's been doing it ever since. And I only have to believe he's gotten better. And I think the reason, there's two people that he had matches with in that event that really got people talking. So Jerome won whatever class he was in, whatever weight that was, and Herman Stevens was also in that class. I did not see these matches. I really would like to see them. But yeah, you got people on Facebook saying like, well, Jerome went through Herman like he wasn't there. I find that hard to believe. I think maybe there could have been some decision things. And Herman always, downplays some things. But Herman gave on Facebook, he gave so much credit to Jerome Loud, basically just said he is too strong. I don't know if that's Herman being modest or doing what he does, but I know that Jerome Loud is immensely strong, and we did see him in a WL prelim match against a guy from the Northeast that I have a lot of experience with, and I really respect his high-end cupping hand strength in Jason Merlot. And to watch what Jerome was able to do against Jason Merlot's hand was super impressive. And that's, we all need those barometers that we can gauge off of, and I know Jason more than anybody else. I also talk a lot with CJ Twine, and CJ has really given me constant updates on Jerome since I really started in arm wrestling. So guys, if you don't know Jerome Loud, he's not on Facebook. Don't go really look him up. But you can look up Facebook feeds, you can look up videos, you can do your research on Jerome, and when you do that, you are going to be very impressed. The second match that Jerome won, and I don't want to skip too far forward, but happened in the overall, he beat Dan Mosier, and he beat him in very convincing fashion. So moving down in weight classes, I think there was a 198 there, a 198 class there. And the big marquee matchup there was Roby Russell and Craig Tullier. I was unable to find both matches of Roby and Craig. So I got to talk to Craig. So I did see Roby posted their last match, their finals, or I believe it was the finals match. Yeah, it definitely was. Anyway, so you see Craig fall into Roby has a tight shoulder-driven hook, and Roby winds up beating Craig. So I was interested to see, well, how did it pan out prior to that? So Craig, I guess they wound up meeting like their fourth match or something, and Craig fouled twice. So the first match was lost with Craig fouling from the video, which I can't tell from the angle 100%, but what appeared to be pins twice. The video is inconclusive. I don't like to get into questioning referees. So let's assume Craig, they were fouls. I don't know if they were. I don't know if they were pins. But in any case, they were very close on either front. So Craig goes B-side. I think they meet up in the finals 9 matches in. I don't know really what took place to lead up to that. So if you talk about that, now I talked to Craig quite some bit about Roby Russell, about how strong is he. And Craig was obviously, nobody wants to lose, okay? And I also got to work with Craig today. So I can tell you that Craig is mega, okay? He still has some issues going on with his elbow after the surgeries and everything, but Craig is mega. He's mega, okay? So to me, I hear Craig saying some really positive things about Roby and his ability to pull inside and things like that. And then after feeling Craig, I am left with no choice but to think Roby is extremely legitimate in the 198 class. And I think Robbie was walking around slightly under 198. So he is no longer a 165 puller. He is now a 198, 205 puller. And he is a force to be reckoned with. And oh, by the way, we fast forward into the overall. Jerome Loud beats Daniel Mosier. Very convincing fashion. So my assumption is, if I understand right, Jerome must have beaten BJ Fakakis prior, then beats Daniel Mosier, then faces Roby Russell, and Robbie beats him. I cannot find video of this match. If anyone has video of this match, I am extremely interested. I have not seen it, and I would like to see it. If you have it, please drop me a link. But Roby Russell then beats Jerome Loud. My assumption is, and after talking to Craig when he kind of recapped, I said, okay, well, understanding how Robbie pulls, the only way that I can imagine Robbie beating Jerome would be to drop him into a hook quickly. And really the only times that I've seen people beat Jerome is when they get on his wrist. So Craig kind of confirmed what I suspected and said that was basically Jerome went and he was able to get enough supination with shoulder commitment to be able to bring him over. I still want to see the match. It's an awesome match. And then moving down the weight classes, the last real big undertaking that took place. We talked about Paul Passmore winning left arm supers. And we talked about Jerome winning that next class down. I do not know who won the 220s. And I can only assume, my assumption is, well, it has to be what happened unless something went out of order. It was Paul Passmore then beat Jerome Loud, and then Paul Passmore then beat whoever was in the 220s, and then Paul Passmore met Justin Bishop in the 198s. And Justin Bishop pulled off, overalls are what they are, but he pulled off a huge win on Paul Passmore's left with, it looked like a whole hand low setup top roll where he really exposed Paul's hand. So to me, that was another huge highlight. The one thing, and I don't know both of the pullers' name, but I believe in the 250 or the 154 class or 165 class, there was a mega war between two real young guys. Names are slipping my mind right now. But so those are like the big things that I think happened in the arm wrestling community right now at Alabama State. And honestly, guys, there's so little going on, but in reality, there actually is a lot going on. So like things aren't being promoted the same way, but arm wrestling's still happening, and I think it's just going to be trickier for us to find these matches. But what's cool about this whole situation that we're in is guys like Jerome, who deserved a lot of recognition, are now starting to get it because we don't have anything else to watch. So somehow, a state title tournament is now getting Jerome Loud more recognition than like placing really high at a WAL regionals. That I think is the beauty and the power of where we're at, is there's so many eyes watching right now. So I know I've rambled here for quite some time, but it's been an exciting weekend, past weekend with everything that happened at Alabama State, and it's been an exciting week for me to get to train out here with those guys. I cherish the time I get to spend and travel with these guys. I feel like I'm growing constantly. Feel like I've been re-energized and recharged by having the ability to pull with these guys and really link up. So I won't take any more of your time, but if you listen through this long, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay strong.